Hey there, how's it going? It's nice to see you again. It is that time of year, everybody's posting their raps, and I might be one of the 5 people that is actually excited to see everybody's music. Everybody's posting their year-end lists, and reviewers are going hog wild with their homogenous opinions, and I thought, what better way to spend my time than contributing to the same opinions that you've heard 10 million times this year? No, in all seriousness, I wanted to bring light to a couple albums and projects that I think are worth checking out in the year of 2022. I wanted to start by giving a couple shout outs to a few projects, EPs, some songs that I think are worth checking out, or that didn't make my list. I'm going to be showcasing 15 albums that I think are pretty cool, and they are in a ranked order, although comparison's the thief of joy, so that's pretty subjective. Take this how you will. But without further ado, let's start with the shoutouts. I'm a fake fan. I've got my notes on my phone. A real fan would memorize these lists. The first project I wanted to highlight is an EP called Look at It in the Light by Kate Bollinger. Kate is one of the most promising women in indie music right now, coming at every project swinging hard, some of the best drum production I've ever heard in my life. Some of the best songwriting, very catchy hooks, and her voice is so pristine and beautiful. It's very calming on a nice rainy day or a drive through the park. Definitely check this one out if you like indie rock or some mellow vibes. It's got a lot of real instruments, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, check that one out. Lady in the Darkest Hour is my favorite song off that project. Go take a listen. This next shout out goes to a song called This Is a Life by Sunlux, Mitski, and David Byrne, and it comes from the soundtrack of the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. I heard this in the theater as it cut to the Act 2 break, and my jaw dropped. The gorgeousness of the kick drum matching with the delicate piano kind of pulses just make for such a beautiful combination. And with the fluttering strings and David Byrne and Mitski, don't miss this one. Also, go check out that movie because it's sweet. Don't miss it. And next, I got a couple albums that didn't quite make the list, but I think are worth mentioning. The 22 mix of Revolver is by the Beatles. It's everything I've been wanting from that album. This new remix by Giles Martin, the son of George Martin, it just captures everything that the Beatles were trying to do in that recording. Highlights from that project are the song Taxman. I am so here for a universe where Paul's bass is just cranked to 11. I love that so much because it's one of the best bass riffs of all time. So yeah, go check that one out if you haven't revisited Revolver in some time. Another shout out is the album Worldwide Pop by Superorganism. This one I like it. It's got a lot of energy and it's really playful and bubbly. It's this weird combination of not quite hyperpop, but not quite like regular pop. Some of the sound design and production is so unique, and this overall mix of euphoric bliss with the lead vocalist's kind of suppressed demeanor makes for a really interesting listen. Also, they sampled It's Raining Today by Scott Walker, and that is a certified banger. Did they improve the song? Yeah, but it's worth checking out. It's a good album. This is the last shout out I have for you until we get into our list, and it's one that I'm going to butcher the name of the artist because I'm not a Frenchman. Croissant. I'm not making fun of French people. I just can't say it normally. But it's a Topical Dancer by Charlotte Dejery and Bulis Pupul. I don't know if I pronounced that French enough. This album has so much vibrant energy, and it's got this wittiness throughout the project that makes it a really humorous listen, but also I get groovy with it. I didn't necessarily connect with it upon first listen. Maybe I'll need to revisit this album more, but I definitely think that it's worth your attention. All right, now moving on to the main list. Coming in at number 15, the first album I have for you is by Mr. Lamar. It is Mr. Morale of the Big Steppers. Now, this is kind of like his White Album. It's too long and has too many songs. Some of them aren't great. However, there are also some of my favorite Kendrick songs on here of all time. The opener, just the way that it kind of, yeah, baby. I remember the lead up to this album being so monumental, and I think that's definitely part of the cinematic scope of this album. While some of the production and his lyricism might not be some of my favorites, I definitely think that it carries enough star power to remain relevant in 2022 and to be one of the best of the year. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the new Kendrick album, why not? It's Kendrick. You can't go wrong. Next up is number 14, Wet Leg by Wet Leg. Man, I know this is not one of the best albums of the year, but it's one of my favorite bands that's up and coming right now, and I wanted to highlight it because I think whatever they do next is going to be definitely worth your attention if you already discredited this album. But it's so fun and lively. I don't think I've heard energy in an album like this. They have so much charm and witty humor. I know I use the word wit a lot, but I think it's a good descriptor for Wet Leg. Wit Leg? That one hurt me. But there's so many highlights from this album, like Your Mum or the crowd favorite, Chaise Long. It has so much rockabilly kind of whatever that is. The drums are great, bass is great, I love the synth lines, and the lyricism is really great. I am so looking forward to whatever they put out next. Coming in at number 13, the new Weyes Blood album, And in the Darkness, Hearts Aglow. Weyes Blood returns with her cinematic scope and atmosphere, her beautifully legato vocals. There's a whole lot to love. I do think it's a much more safe project than Titanic Rising was, but at the same time, still delivers on all the sonic capabilities of that album, and definitely brings a nice intimate quality with the drums on the intro track being very steady and consistent and muted style. Weyes Blood is one of those artists that constantly puts out a large amount of wisdom into her lyrics and writing, which I really appreciate. It is intellectual, but I think it's worth your listen if you just like beautiful music. So definitely go check that one out. Number 12. It's the 1975. I didn't expect this either, but Being Funny in a Foreign Language is one of my favorite albums of the year for some reason. I don't know. I've had a love-hate relationship with the 1975. I definitely grew up when I was 14, 15, listening to cuts like Chocolate and really connecting with that teenager quality-esque vibe that they had going on. And as I kind of grew out of that and went to college, I didn't connect with the messaging as hard. I thought some of it was a little cringe. But this new album is still all of that, for sure. But it's much more adult and mature, for lack of a better term. I think that it encapsulates the kind of punk, rocky, pop mentality. Because it's not that as a genre. It's just the kind of like, angsty, young. But this one, it's that. It's the dad version of that. And being insufferable, I like that. So check this one out. It's got lots of great production. The writing is, I like my men like I like my soy milk. So it can't hurt anybody. I can't remember the lyric, but I'm just like, come on, Matt. Keep being you, because nobody else does it. Anyway, go check that one out. It's a lot of fun. At number 11, we have Louie by Kenny Beats. Mr. Kenneth beats Upalopolis. Yeah. Kenny Beats delivers an excellent collection of tracks here. It feels almost like a mixtape or a beat tape, but it brings all of his signature production, wonderful instrumentation and arrangements, and the compositions on these are straight fire. Bleh. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a presenter. This album feels so personable, like it's a little time capsule that you're allowed into. Kenny treats field recordings and personal audio libraries of him and his dad on a faux radio show, and it brings so much character and meaning to this selection of instrumentals. I find myself putting these on when I need to study, or when I want to have a good day, or when I just want to groove out, man. Some of the beats on here, I mean, it's in his name. It's Mr. Beats, for God. Can I swear? Yeah, go check it out. It's really good. A lot of jazz, a lot of hip hop, a lot of pop. I love it. There's some shout outs from rappers who normally rap, instead go, hey, habada, habada, don't rap. And I love that. It's just ad-libs all the way from here. Coming in at number 10, Not Tight by DOMi and BECK. I did not know that I needed Gen Z jazz in my life so bad, but I do. And if it's not fueled by Adderall and ADHD, I don't know what it is. It's the internet. That's what it is. It's everything, everywhere, all at once. Not Tight is very counterintuitive because it is, in fact, a tight project. I'm sure you'd never heard that before in your life. These two are some of the most up-and-coming, promising figures, not in just jazz, but in music in general. DOMi and her ability to harmonize on the fly is so incredible, and as a piano player, I look up to her so much. The fact that she can keep such tight time and play bass with her left hand while also maintaining crazy chord structures is just like, it's mind-boggling. And that's not even to touch on JD Beck's drumming. It's so frantic and so consistent that it really, I don't know, it strikes a nerve that I don't hear in many drums. Also, this album is so well recorded. I really love how dry it is. Like, they just stuck a microphone in there and called it a day. But yeah, if you like some jazz and want some progressive stuff, there's like a Herbie Hancock feature on this project. Like, that's all you need to know. It's awesome. Also, one of the songs with Anderson .Paak called Take a Chance on Me is definitely one of my favorite songs of the year. That chorus, man, hits me every time. And the progression of the song is so good. This one, like Wet Leg, is a band that is very new to the scene, and I'm very excited to see what they do with their newfound skills. Coming in at number 9, it's another new artist, which makes me really excited. It's Lizzie McAlpine's 5 Seconds Flat. Maybe I'm biased because I like seeing new people emerge onto the scene, hence their high ratings up on this list. But I think Lizzie is carving her own lane in music right now that's kind of following the footsteps of what Billie Eilish was able to do in 2019, although in the same genre of pop, that's a very broad scope, and I'm not saying that Lizzie is taking after Billie, more just in the way that she's accomplishing her records. With this debut being so fully realized and fully formed, it feels like Lizzie McAlpine has been an artist this whole time, and we just haven't known about her. Which, I mean, it's probably accurate. But the way that she's able to craft songs and specific feelings almost reminds me of like a Phoebe Bridgers-esque type in the way that she conducts her lyricism. Like the line about being in 7-Eleven with fluorescent lights and about free Slurpees just reads to me as something... It's so of the times, and I think she's got her finger on the pulse of what's in right now, and I think that's what I really appreciate about the record. The vocals are mixed so well, and so many of the harmonies are just like ear candy for the soul. I really appreciate it, and if you want some catchy pop music, this is where you should turn to. Coming in at number 8, it's Fossora by Björk. I have entered my Björk phase this year. It's happened. My relationship with Radiohead, it's over. I'm now best friends with Björk. This album, really, it is its own world. I've never heard such beautiful woodwind instruments paired with such hard, cold beats. I think the electronic production mixed with such the organic elements really creates this imagery of mushrooms, which... And magical forests and Alice in Wonderland-esque vibes. It evokes such a specific emotion. I recently, like I said, just got into Björk and I've been exploring her discography, in part because this album came out and I went, you know, I've never listened to Björk. It's time to give it a chance. And wow, I haven't experienced novelty in some time like this. I think it's definitely not my favorite Björk album, but it's also Björk, so it's better than most. So I love it. I don't know what else to say. Go check it out. Coming in at number 7, Cave World by Viagra Boys. I didn't expect this one to go so high on my list either, but I revisited it yesterday, and troglodyte and adrenochrome. It's so good. The ability to mix humor with hard-hitting cultural commentary is unlike that of many of their contemporaries. It carves such a unique path for itself, but also it's really listenable too. I wasn't ever put off by how strange it was. I think partially because I like stuff like HMLTD or other like post-punk stuff. I don't want to spoil the next few people on the list, but you'll see what I mean. I think Cave World is one of those albums that is best listened to and not best described, because summarizing the tone of this, it's unlike anything I've ever heard, and I appreciate that for it. Moving on. Number 6, A Light for Attracting Attention by The Smile. Yeah, I know I said relationship with Radiohead over, but this was a good record. The addition of Tom Skinner as the drummer and the subtraction of every other member of Radiohead besides Johnny and Tom. I kind of feel like I'm watching my parents cheat on each other a little bit. It feels a little wrong, but you know what? We get cool music out of it, so I don't care. Who cares? There are so many bombastic moments of energy and of stick it to 'em, like We'll Never Work in TV Again or The Smoke, both songs that when I need to get going in the morning, I put on those songs because I'm like, I need a strutting song, which is The Smoke. And of course, You Will Never Work in Television Again, which is one of those where if I'm having a bad day and I just need to have some energy, I'll throw that on. But the beautiful synth work and guitar work mixed with Tom's kind of, and I'm sure Johnny too's, wacko bass lines that really depart from Colin Greenwood's style, mixed with Tom Skinner's excellent precision with the drums, his timing, and the way that everything's recorded with Nigel's production. Oh, it's a great mix. Now, some of Tom's lyricisms bore me to death, I'll be real. A little snooze fest, but that being said, it's pretty to listen to, and the songs that work really do work. All right, now here we are at the top 5. The first one I got for you is Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. Mr. Curry, Mr. Ultimate, coming in, he doesn't ever miss. The energy and ferociousness of Mr. Curry is unparalleled to any other rapper doing it right now. I mean, there's obviously people that are in the same lane as him, but this visceral energy and the flow of everything mixed with this beautiful kind of jazzy production with live instruments and live drums. Yes, it is everything I want in a rap album right now. I love this sort of genre that Curry is pushing, and I want more of it instantly. Now, just IV drip me in some of this jazz rap, please. Yeah, it's a good one. Go check it out. X-Wing. Number 4, Hellfire by Black Midi. There it is. There's the pop punk, post-punk. What do you call this? I don't know. It's just noise. I saw them live in San Francisco earlier this year, and I don't think my hearing has recovered. I still hear tinnitus. It was so loud that I was worried that the building would collapse. I don't know if the Warfield's cut out for that. The just chaoticism of Hellfire, it's in the name. It actually does sound like Hellfire. The Race Begins is a perfect encapsulation of this whole record. It is so unhinged in the best ways, mixed with pirates and really fast drumming and scales that I didn't know I needed to hear repeated 17 million times in a row. I love it. Go check this one out if you're into the genre of post-punk / rock / alternate. I don't know what this one is. It's kind of genre defying in a way that makes me really happy to be a music listener these days in 2022. It's a good one, but it might take some warming up to. It's quite chaotic. Check it out. Now, the moments you've all been waiting for, probably not really. The top 3 albums of the year, coming in that third slot, is De Todas las Flores by Natalia Laforcade. My God, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, probably. I love folk music so much, and it's played such an important role in my musical development and in my life. I also grew up in a town that Mexican culture was very important and a central part of it, and listening to Natalia's latest album kind of brings like a very reminiscent, nostalgic feeling for me. I love being submerged in a culture so rich and with so much depth as the one that Natalia is singing about. I also love how unique and novel the instrumentation is to me because I don't listen to a lot of Mexican folk music, and I'm remiss to say that I don't. The classical guitar enough is so beautiful. It's like out of time. It sounds like it was recorded a long time ago, but it wasn't. And that just speaks to the instant classic ability that this album has. The storytelling is so rich and has so much nuance to it, and the arrangement, everything is precise and perfect. I probably should rank this album a little bit higher because it deserves it. It might be the best album of the year, who knows? But for me, I connected to some a little bit more. Give this one a listen, even if you don't have the translated lyrics in front of you. Just go in to submerge yourself in a beautiful world. Also, dude, the piano on this is so sick. I love it so much. Go check it out. Now, these next two, I fought with myself for some time on how I wanted to place them, but number 2 is Ants From Up There by Black Country New Road. Let me go get something to show you why this album's important. Check it out. I love it so much that I had to get a signed copy. It's going to be pretty hard to talk about this album without getting a little emotional, because this album was there for me in some of my most difficult moments of the year, and was always like a steadying rock in a violent ocean where I could just stand upon and not get swept away by the sea. I listened to this album for the first time the day it came out. I was at work. I wasn't supposed to listen to music, but I was shoveling dirt because I used to work at a nursery. I was making some soil that day. And I hid my little earbuds under my beanie because I just cared about this more than any other release of the year, pretty much. I just remember shoveling dirt and crying my eyes out at how beautiful the record was. It continues to bring me so much depth, and I hear new things every time I listen to it, even though I've listened to it tens of times now. There's so many standout moments. Like the first leg of this album just brings me back to a place of being able to look at all the stressors of my life and move on, even though everything's hard. It just brings so much like triumph, I would say, to my life. I think it also has a really emotional story to it with Isaac departing from the band, of course. That's what everybody talks about, but it really adds to the significance of the writing of the album. This one was my most personally inspiring album. I just finished a record this year too, which you should check out. It's called Weather for Gardening by Braylon Addison, available on all streaming platforms. Go take a look. But that influenced my recording process. I watched and read a lot of interviews with the band members and the producer, and I got so inspired to kind of emulate that live process for my record that it became one of these bastions of almost a lost art form of bands playing in a room. Not a lot of people do that these days, and I think it's an important thing to maintain because as much as we would all like to believe, recording by cutting up takes in a computer is not the same as playing with a bunch of people in a room. It's just not. You can emulate it as close as you like, but the vibe will always be different. Referencing classic albums like the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, the Beatles' Revolver, which just got remixed and was really great, check it out, and Neil Young's On the Beach, which this album also got me back into Neil Young, which how many albums can you say does that? So on that merit alone, it's one of my favorites from the year, but just such an eclectic mix of saxophone, violin, piano, drums, guitar, electric guitar with like a post-punk sort of alternative rock vibe, but also very like classical inspired as well, and mixed with aspects of folk music. And Isaac's vocals and lyrics are so unique and cast this such a specific tone. And I think that's part of why I love it, because there's really nothing out there that sounds like this album. And I could talk about specifics of songs, but I wanted to just highlight it as an overall project because I think it's such a cohesive piece of work. That's all I have to say about that one. I would say to my professional career, it's the most important album of the year. But now for my personal opinion on album of the year, number 1, Dragon, No More Mountain, I Believe in You by Big Thief. Oh, I listen to this album at least once a month. If not, I definitely listen to it more than that. I've been following Adrienne Lenker's solo project since she released the album Songs in, I think, 2020. And I've fallen in love with her lyricism and the way that she's able to transcend time and space. I think she brings such absolute truths to her songwriting that it makes me feel like I'm really in the presence of somebody that truly sees what's happening in the world and in life and is able to encapsulate that in her work. I would really liken her to figures right now. I mean, like Joni Mitchell is a good kind of comparison, although it's not fair. I think the way that she is so honest about her lyrics, and it's a totally different style than Joni, but the way that Adrienne Lenker is able to present her ideas in such like a formulated way, it's that same emotion of like, it feels like it's always been here, but it just came out in 2022. And that timeless feeling to it really reminds me a lot of like jazz standards that have lyrics that will always hold true for all of history. There are so many moments that make me so emotional on this project, and it's one of the most comforting albums of the year. I mean, no, the most comforting album. It's massive, it's really long, it feels like a journey, which I really love, and that's not even a criticism like it could be with some other long albums. I think it's 20 songs. I enjoy every second of it with all of my heart. This album has been there for me on road trips, on nights where I'm alone crying after a breakup. It's there for me on the joyous moments of my life where I'm preparing for shows and need something to calm down to. Moments like, "That's my grandma!" That speaks to me on like a spiritual level. There's so many lyrics like, "You lay beside me, sleeping on a plane in the future." Lyrics like that, we've heard all of those words throughout our lives, but hearing the combination of those in tandem with each other, it's hard to put my finger on, but it is an intense relatability. And just everything about this record, the production, the mixing and mastering, the performances on here, the band is so tight. Definitely, if you like folk music and you like alternative folk, go take a look, because it's everything that Adrienne Lenker, everything that I love from her, plus like kind of a rock aspect that really gives it a lot of energy. And I don't know if there's anything better than that. All right, so that was my list. I'm sure you don't agree with it. That's okay. I don't know if I agree with it either, but it's there. 2022 is alive and well, and music is not dead. And here are some good examples of why that's true. So if anybody in your life tells you, "Music just used to be so much better in my day," show them these albums and go, "You're wrong, old person." Because it's only old people that say that. All right, well, sorry, old people. I love you very much. Mom, if you're watching. Definitely let me know if you listen to any of these albums and if any of these are new to you and you enjoy them. I would love that. I love being able to share great work and to be able to talk about it. So, yeah, all right. Maybe I'll make this a yearly tradition. This was kind of fun. This is kind of unhinged. I didn't have a script, but here we are. So we're done. We're through it. Editing me will have a good time with this. But yeah, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with me, talking about some music. It's my favorite thing to do. All right. Have a great rest of your holiday season if you're watching this in December. If not, enjoy life and maybe revisit these albums from this year because they're pretty good. But yeah, I wish all of you a wonderful 2023. Every day is an opportunity to better yourself and your future. Or something like that. I don't know. All right, I'm rambling. Take care. Bye-bye.